Obiora Nwokoye was not your average Nigeria bachelor. He was tall, dark, and had the kind of smile that could melt the anger of a Lagos traffic warden. With a steady job at a communication firm and a car that didn't need daily prayers to start, Obiora was the definition of a hot cake. Women liked him, and truth be told, he liked them too. A little too much. He had dated all shapes and sizes, from bankers with long eyelashes to makeup artists who could contour away their problems. But somehow, none of them had what he was looking for. They were either too demanding, too flashy, too clingy. Obiora, tired of the emotional roller coaster and the reoccurring emptiness, decided he wanted something different. Someone pure, simple and homely. He told himself, the next woman I date must be a wife material. 100 years old, no cutting of clothes. Obiora first saw Christy at a French traditional wedding. She wore a wine-colored lace gown with gele so intricately tied. Her smile was gentle, and she walked with the grace of someone who had been raised on morals. It was love at first sight, or at least strong, like with potentials. Obiora's heart did a backflip. For the first time in his entire 32 years, he felt peace just by looking at a woman. Christy was different, and everything about her screamed wife material. He didn't waste time. After introducing himself, he asked for her number before the wedding jollof rice was served. They started talking. She was soft-spoken, kind-hearted, and the only daughter of her parents. Christy had grown up in a Christian home where dating was frowned upon unless it was leading to marriage. Obiora was impressed. She even prayed before eating. What more can a man ask for? Obiora pursued Christy with the seriousness of a man applying for a job. He visited her family, showed respect to her parents, and even joined them one day for evening devotion with complete clapping and shouting amen at every prayer point. Christy was initially cautious. She had seen men who started well and ended in heartbreak, but Obiora was consistent. He wasn't perfect, but he was present. He called, he visited, he listened, and when he confessed that he wanted to marry her, Christy believed him. One Sunday afternoon, while they were walking after church, Christy stopped and said, Obiora, there's something I want to tell you. What is it, my angel? He asked, ready to hear anything. I am a virgin, she said shyly. Obiora almost did a somersault. Virgin? In this 21st century, he could hardly believe it. It felt like he had won the jackpot. In fact, he went home that day and danced excitedly. Obiora's excitement tripled after Christy's revelation to him. She was a rare treasure. He told his friends with pride, my babe na virgin, original one, no tempering, factory fitted. They teased him, saying things like, hope you won't faint on the wedding night but Obiora didn't care. He was proud of Christy. He had never been more concerned or certain about anything in his life. Wedding plans kicked off in full gear. Christy's parents, though emotional about releasing their only daughter, were happy she had found love. Obiora's family were equally overjoyed. The bride price was paid, and the traditional wedding was done in Christy's family's compound. That night, Obiora was excited beyond words. Finally, he could be with his wife. No more boundaries. No more we are waiting till marriage. He set the hotel room like a romantic movie scene. Rose petals on the bed, soft music playing. They laughed, kissed, and consummated the marriage, and eventually they lay beside each other, exhausted but happy. Obiora slept like a baby, holding his wife close. But sometime around 2 a.m., he woke up with a sniff. Something wasn't right. He sniffed again. What is that smell? He murmured. Then he turned and screamed. The bed was wet, not with spilled water, not with sweat, but with urine. Warm, pungent and embarrassing. He jumped up like someone poured holy water on him. Jesus! Christy, what is this? Christy woke up, confused and then horrified. Her eyes widened in shame. She didn't say a word instead. She got up slowly, removed the bed sheets, bundled it like a dirty laundry, and took it to the bathroom. She washed it silently while Obiora stood there, his mouth hanging open. He wanted to believe it was a mistake. Maybe she drank too much water. Maybe she was too tired. Maybe. But deep down, he knew this wasn't just a one-time accident. He watched from the balcony as Christy hung the wet sheet outside like a thief trying to hide evidence. The wedding night he had dreamt about had turned into something out of a comedy gone wrong. That was the beginning of their nightmare. Obiora couldn't sleep that night. He paced round the room like a man who had just received what he ordered versus what he got from Temu. He kept glancing at Christy, who had returned from hanging the bed sheets. She sat on the edge of the bed, her head bowed in shame, not saying a word. "So, you've been hiding this from me?" he finally asked, his voice low but sharp. Christy didn't respond. Her lips trembled, her hands clenched on her lap. She wanted to speak, but didn't know where to start from. How could she explain something she didn't fully understand herself? "You mean you still bedwet? As in you, at your age, you still pee on the bed? My God." Christy bit her lower lips. A tear rolled down her cheeks. She didn't wet the bed in months. It only happened once in a long while. She had prayed it wouldn't happen again, not on her wedding night, but the stress of the ceremony, the excitement, the fear, it had all come crashing down on her. Obiora hissed and turned his back. "This marriage don't start with Koso." The next morning, they checked out of the hotel room. Obiora didn't say a word during the drive. Christy sat beside him like a prisoner, awaiting trial. When they got to the house, he flung the car key on the table and stormed into the bedroom. The honeymoon phase ended before it began. Instead of romantic breakfast in bed and couple selfies, there were silence, tension, and side eyes. Christy tried to smile, tried to start conversation, but Obiora had built a wall. The following week, it happened again. This time, Obiora woke up cursing. He kicked the bed frame and shouted, "What kind of nonsense is this now? Am I married to a grown-up or a baby?" Christy, ashamed beyond words, simply changed the sheet and washed it again. She avoided his eyes. She avoided everything. Her nights became nightmares, filled with fear of humiliation. Obiora, on the other hand, began to see her not as a partner, but as a problem he didn't sign up for. Obiora didn't keep his frustration indoors. He started telling his close friend, "Guy, I marry who dey piss for bed o. Can you imagine? Woman wey say im be virgin still dey wet bed like pikin. Guy, are you serious?" "Yes o. Do I look like I'm joking to you?" They laughed. He laughed too. But deep down, he was bitter. He felt cheated, robbed of the fairy tale marriage he had envisioned. At home, the mockery turned into verbal abuse. He began calling her names: smelly pig, urine machine, wet mattress. Christy couldn't bear it. She stopped going out. She didn't want the neighbor to hear what the husband was saying. She prayed every night, asking God to heal her, to take the shame away. But the more she prayed, the worse things got. Obiora stopped sleeping in the same bed. He moved to the guest room, locked the door at night. When Christy served him food, he barely touched it. When she tried to touch him, he pushed her away. The home became a house, cold, quiet, and filled with resentment. Christy cried every night, quiet muffled sob into her pillow. She didn't want anyone to hear her, not the neighbors, not even the walls. She wondered if marriage was supposed to feel like punishment. She wondered if God was angry with her. Had she done something wrong? Was this her destiny? Obiora's insults became sharper. One night, in a fit of rage, he shouted, "I regret marrying you. I should have known something was off the moment I heard you were still a virgin. Virgin my foot." Christy froze. That one cut deep. Her virginity had been a source of pride, something she had preserved with honor, and now it was being used as a weapon against her. She packed a small bag that night, ready to leave, but when she stepped outside, the cold night air slapped her back to reality. Where would she go? What would she say to her parents? She went back in and cried herself to sleep. With time, Obiora started staying out late. He began dating other women unapologetically. He would return at odd hours, reeking of perfumes and alcohol. Christy saw the signs, the lipstick stain, the hidden text messages, the calls he took in whispers, but she said nothing. She swallowed the pain like bitter medicine. And soon, neighbors began to notice. Some whispered, others stared. One day, a neighbor confronted Christy, asking why her husband was always seen with different women. Christy smiled faintly and said, He's a busy man." Inside, she was dying. Obiora, emboldened by her silence, became cruel. He would mock her in public, in front of friends, and even during family gatherings. Christy's shame multiplied. She no longer walked on the street with her head high. She avoided church, avoided friends. Her once glowing skin turned dull. Her laughter died. She was a shadow of herself, living in a house that felt more like a prison, married to a man who now saw her as nothing more than an object of ridicule. It had been months since Christy's mother had seen her daughter. She noticed the distance during phone calls, the forced cheerfulness, the silence when she asked about the marriage. Christy, once bubbly girl, could talk endlessly, but now sounded somehow, trying to smile through pain. One afternoon, unannounced, her mother came visiting. The moment she stepped into the house, she sensed it. And overwhelming gloom. The home was quiet, too quiet for newlyweds. Christy hugged her mother, and though she smiled, her mother could feel how thin and weak she had become. "Christy, what's going on here? Why is your face looking like this? Where is Obiora?" Christy's lip quivered. She wanted to break down and cry, to tell her mother everything, but shame was like a padlock on her tongue. She smiled instead and said, "Mama, everything is fine." But her mother was not convinced. That night, Christy's mother heard her crying. The words were not thick enough to hide her pain so deep. She went to Christy's room and found Christy coiled up in bed, sobbing. "My daughter, talk to me. Are you not fine? Please talk to me." And just like that, the dam broke. Christy cried as if tears could wash away the pain. She told her mother everything: the bedwetting, the humiliation, the verbal abuse, the cheating. Her mother held her tight, tears filling her own eyes. "My daughter, why didn't you say something earlier? Why did you suffer in silence?" Christy only shook her head. She didn't know how to explain the shame. Just days after her mother's visit, Obiora returned home in one of his foul mood. He barely looked at Christy as he dropped his phone and bag. "We need to talk," he said, not bothering to wait for a response. Christy froze, her hands trembling. "Okay," she whispered. "This marriage is not working. I am tired. You bring shame to my name. My friends mock me. Even my mother said I should have known better. I want out." Christy felt the room spin. "What? What did you mean?" "I mean I am done. I am returning your bride price. Go back to your people. I have endured enough humiliation." Her heart shattered as he slammed the door behind him. Christy sat there, numb. She had been cast away like an expired bread. The next morning, he handed her an envelope with some money. "Pack your things. I have already informed your people." Christy left the house with her luggage and a broken heart. Her mother welcomed her with tears in her eyes and anger in her voice. "Let him go," she said. "God will judge him." But Christy was a shadow of herself. She stayed indoors, barely spoke, barely ate. Her days were filled with silence, and her nights were filled with memories that stabbed like a knife. One cool evening, after weeks of isolation, Christy decided to take a walk. She couldn't remember the last time she stepped outside. Her legs were shaky, but she needed air. Real air, not the stale sadness that hung inside the house. As she walked down a lonely path near a bushy area, she saw an old man sitting on a bench, gazing into the sky. He looked like someone out of a folk tale. White beard, walking stick, and eyes that saw beyond the physical. "Daughter," he called as she walked past. Christy turned. "Good evening, sir." "Your heart is heavy," he continued. "You carry shame that doesn't belong to you. But the root of your pain lies in your past. There is someone you must ask forgiveness from. Someone you wronged with words, with your own words." Christy was confused. "I don't understand." "You will. Before morning, your spirit will remember, and only then will healing come." She nodded politely, thinking the man was one of those wise old men who spoke in riddles. But that night, when she slept, she had a dream that changed everything. Christy found herself walking through a dusty footpath in the village. Trees lined the sides, and birds chirped overhead. Ahead, she saw an old woman struggling by the side of the road. The woman had a walking stick and was trying to squat by the bush to urinate. In the dream, young Christy passed by with two of her friends. She stopped, laughed loudly, and pointed at the old woman. "See this woman, oh, she don't piss for body. Pig!" The old woman turned, her eyes filled with sorrow. "You laughed at me today, but your mouth will bring you shame tomorrow." Christy woke up immediately. Her whole body was covered in sweat. She remembered the incident. It happened when she was about 15. She had mocked the old woman mercilessly and even told others about it in school. Now, the pieces were coming together. The curse, the shame, the humiliation. She ran to her mother's room and narrated the dream. Her mother listened, wide-eyed. We must find the woman," she said. "If she's still alive, we must ask for her forgiveness." The next day, mother and daughter traveled back to the village. Christy could hardly breathe as they approached the place where the incident happened. It had been years, but the memory was fresh. They asked around. It took a while, but eventually they found the woman. Her name was Mama Chiyere. She was older now, her back more bent, her walking stick more worn out. Christy knelt before her sobbing. "Mama, I am sorry. I was foolish. I mocked you years ago, and I believe it brought shame to my life. Please forgive me." The old woman looked at her for a long time. Then she smiled. "I remember you. Yes, I was hurt by your words. I hope you have learnt your lesson. You don't mock a pain you have never experienced. But I forgive you. May shame leave your life. May peace return to you." Christy broke down in tears. A weight lifted from her chest. Something spiritual, something deep. As they left the woman's house, her mother held her hands and said, "This is your new beginning. Forget Obiora. A brighter future awaits you." After her emotional visits to the village and receiving forgiveness from Mama Chiyere, Christy felt a renewed sense of peace. Her spirit, once weighed down by shame and pain, now floated with lightness. She returned home with her mother and packed her things. It was time to start afresh. She couldn't stay in the same environment that reminded her daily of her broken marriage and the embarrassment that followed. With her mother's help, Christy secured a small apartment in Enugu. It wasn't much, a one-bedroom flat in a quiet part of town, but it was hers. The city buzzed with life. Every corner had people hustling, selling, shouting, keke drivers arguing over change, and loud music blasting from roadside stalls. It was chaotic, but to Christy, it was a beautiful kind of chaos, a distraction from her thoughts. She began attending church regularly, joined a support group for women, and even signed up for a computer class. Slowly, her confidence began to return. Though the scars of her past remained, she was learning to smile again. Christy days became structured. Mornings were for prayers and devotion, afternoons for her computer class, and evenings for her support group. Each activity became a stepping stone in rebuilding her broken self. At the support group, she met women who had gone through worse, women who were beaten, cheated on, abandoned, and left to pick up their pieces. But they stood tall, laughed loudly, and held each other up like sisters. Christy never thought she had laughed again, but here was she, giggling over puff puff and zobo with women she barely knew 2 weeks ago. There was healing in their story, and every section made them feel less alone. One day, after her class, her instructor, a middle-aged woman named Mrs. UCHE, called her aside. "Christy, you have a good mind. Have you ever thought of starting a business?" She didn't, but the idea planted a seed. That night, she began brainstorming. She remembered how much she enjoyed making natural soaps and body oils with her mother during the holidays. Maybe she could start a skincare brand, something organic, something pure, just like she was trying to become. Christy was not afraid of hard work. She had faced shame, rejection, and even spiritual bondage. What was starting a business compared to that? She took out a small loan from a women's cooperative group and started buying material in bits: shea butter, coconut oil, essential oils, aloe vera. Her room soon smelled like a mini spa. She named her brand Ori by Christy. Simple, natural, and deeply personal. With the help of a friend from her computer class, she created a small Instagram page and began marketing her products. She would walk the streets, talking to boutique owners and saloon owners, offering them samples. Sales were slow at first. She even considered giving up. But then, one day, a popular skincare influencer posted a glowing review of her body butter. Orders began to pour in. Christy cried tears of joy for once. She was crying for something good. One Sunday morning, as Christy was preparing orders, her phone rang. The number looked familiar. Her heart skipped. It was Obiora. She stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. Then it rang again and again. Finally, she answered. "Hello? Christy, it is me, Obiora. I know I don't deserve to hear your voice, but please, just let me talk." Her silence was louder than words. "Christy, I have been thinking a lot. I was wrong. I was a fool. I shouldn't have treated you the way I did. I have been paid dearly for it. Things haven't been the same. I am sorry. I am truly sorry." She took a deep breath. "Obiora, I forgave you a long time ago, but I have moved on. I am not the same Christy you threw away." He sighed heavily. "I understand. I just wanted to say sorry. I regret everything. Thank you for calling," she said, and ended the call. That night, she felt free, completely free. The closure she never expected had come. Months turned into a year. Ori by Christy grew beyond what she imagined. She began supplying to stores in other cities. She was invited to Women Empowerment Conference to speak about her journey. People listened to her story, not with pity, but with admiration. And above all, she never forgets to tell them about mocking others and laughing and mocking at a pain you have never been through Be compassionate. Have empathy on others, she would say while she concluded every conference she had the opportunity of speaking on. She even began mentoring young girls, teaching them skills and reminding them of their worth. Her past didn't define her, it refined her. One evening, after a long day of production, Christy sat on her balcony with a glass of zobo, watching the sunset. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from her mother. "My daughter, I am proud of you. You turned pain into purpose. God bless you always." Christy smiled. She had risen from the ashes. She had turned curses into blessing, shame into strength, and heartbreak into healing. And though the scars remained, they no longer bled. They were proof that she had survived and learned her lesson, and a lesson she would live to teach others. Thank you for watching this story. I hope you enjoyed watching and you have learned a few lessons from this story. Kindly do well to share with us in the comment section. Subscribe to this channel if you're not already subscribed. Like this video please and share out this video to your loved ones. Thank you. Until I come your way again with another story. For now, from me, it is bye.